Hey guys, so today I am answering a question from someone that had made a comment of why did I choose Sisterlocks over Microlocks? And so I thought it was a great question to make a response video because if she's asking, then other people might be asking as well, and other people might be on the fence because before you get Sisterlocks or Microlocks, I know a lot of research is done, a lot of videos are looked at, a lot of questions are asked. So I decided to share my reasoning of why I got Sisterlocks instead of Microlocks. At the taping of this video, I am 21 months Sisterlocks. My installation final date was August 29th, 2023. No, 2022. So this August will be 2 years. So August 29, 2022 is my final installation date. 36 hours, I believe, 4 days. So why did I choose Sisterlocks over Microlocks? Okay, so this is my truth. When I finally chose Sisterlocks, I did not know about Microlocks maybe until a few weeks before I actually had my install, because everyone's hair that I fell in love with, which is the reason I jumped the broom and got Sisterlocks in the first place, they were all Sisterlocks. It was 3 women that I just, oh my God, I was just salivating over their hair every time I saw it, and it was Sisterlocks. And so I went down a rabbit hole of, Instagram, reading articles, even YouTube videos about Sisterlocks. I really didn't pay much attention to Microlocks at all. I would see things on Instagram of people putting Microlocks, like I got my Microlocks, I got my root locks. Like there were so many different names for different locks, but I didn't know the real difference until I didn't know the real difference. So I went to dinner or breakfast with a friend who has Sisterlocks as well. And she was 4 years in at the time. And she was saying, and by then I already had my installation date in set. And she had said if she could do it over again, she would have gotten Microlocks. My whole thought and happiness just came crashing down, like, why? And she was like, well, they get thicker faster and overall they're just fuller. And I'm like, really? And so her hair looked good to me, but I didn't understand what she meant until later. Like I said, I am 21 months in. 3 more months I will be at 2 years, and I don't think I don't know if they're going to get any thicker. Like if they're like this at 21 months, are they the thickest it's going to get? Are they because I still have some super skinny ones that were skinny since day one, which I'm not happy about. But like I say, I initially chose it because all the research that I did was on Sisterlocks. But if I could do it over again, I too would have gotten Microlocks. When I first went to get my consultation, of course, my consultation was for Sisterlocks. Now, my loctician can do Microlocks, but again, I didn't know a lot about it. And during our consultation, she was kind of frowned upon starting, doing Microlocks and how it started, and she don't really like it. So me not knowing anything about it then, I'm like, oh, okay, well then that's just not a good idea. You know what I mean? But now it's been 20 months and I've seen things, learned things, and I'm like, if I could do it over again, I would get Microlocks. I've even slightly considered not combing these out, because I ain't combing all these out. I'll cut them off if I comb them out. But starting over with Microlocks. So why? Again, like my friend, well, for one, price. 3 reasons why, knowing what I know now, I would get Microlocks over Sisterlocks. Number 1, price. So many people are getting Sisterlocks. That's just like the economy. If everybody wanted, the prices is going up, okay? So the prices of Sisterlocks is sky high for what friends I know used to pay a while ago. Even me, like I paid $1,100 for my Sisterlocks. And I know that Microlocks is a portion of that, okay? Made a portion of that. Number 2, they get thicker quicker. Like when you first get Sisterlocks, of course, people say you go through the string chicken stage, meaning like your hair is super thin and super looking like a spring chicken, all scalpy. But with Microlocks, they just get thicker quicker. Like maybe by like the 3rd month, they're already almost looking like a lock, and they're fuller. by the third, fourth, fifth, sixth month, 6 months with Sisterlocks, you almost still looking like you just got Sisterlocks, almost, depending on the density and thickness of your hair. Again, like I said, I'm 2 years in, and yes, they are fuller than day one, but somebody that had Microlocks day one and now totally different look. And if you have thin hair, you're gonna want a fuller look. You don't want to look thin locks or super thin hair for the duration of you having locks. You're gonna want a fuller look. And so if you have thin hair, I think Microlocks, is a better choice because they're gonna get thicker faster, and number 3, they're going to look fuller overall. It's just an overall fuller look when you have Microlocks. And even though I did not want big locks at all, but I wanted them a little bit bigger than this, if that makes sense. So that's why, number 1, the price. Number 2, they get thicker quicker, and number 3, they actually are fuller. They give you an overall fuller look when you have Microlocks. So what's the difference between Sisterlocks and Microlocks? Now that's a video in itself. But just to summarize, Sisterlocks are Microlocks, but Microlocks are not Sisterlocks. Now Sisterlocks are Microlocks because micro means what? Tiny, small. So these are tiny locks, tiny locks. But what makes them Sisterlocks is that it is a trademark style of the creation of these locks. Like a woman literally created the technique to make these Sisterlocks. And then there's a grid when you get the lock. There is a certain grid that you go and get certified. Like the person that does your Sisterlocks are supposed to be Sisterlock certified. Like they went and took the class, got the certificate. They're in the national registry. You can look up in your area who's certified to do the technique. And it's a certain grid that they learn to do and a certain way that they start your locks. Microlocks, anybody could do it. There's no certain grid. Anybody can do it. And you can start Microlocks with braids. You can start Microlocks with 2-strand twists. You can start Microlocks interlocked. So there's a variety of ways to start it. There's a variety of ways to have your grid. And so that's just the main difference. Like Sisterlocks, you're going to have the set rules. Microlocks, it's a little fluid. You still can they still can do your grid tight with Microlocks. But like I said, if I could do it over again, I would have went the Microlock route because of that. Before I got locked, I live in Florida, so I hardly wore my natural hair just like straight because I couldn't, because it's humid here. So with my natural, and I was loose natural for 15 years before I got locked. So I did a lot of braid out, twist out, bantu knots before I moved here. But when I was living in Atlanta, that I would wear my hair straight. Because even though it was hot in Atlanta, we still had many months where you could rock a flat iron. But here in Florida, you can only rock a flat iron in January and February. And if you exercising, it's a wrap. So the last few years in Florida was spent with my natural hair. Just, like either not a wet and go, but a wet styling out where you styled it wet and you let it dry. So I would say my hair was not the thickest or the fullest, but it wasn't the thinnest either. It was somewhere in between. And you definitely could see that when I got these Sisterlocks, that it was looking on the thin side. So I have been crossing my fingers as the weeks and months went by that it would get thicker and fuller. And it looks thicker and fuller than day one, but overall, does it look thick and full, if that makes sense? So yeah, there's a difference between day one and almost year 2, but overall, if you just look at me walking down the street with, oh, her hair is so full, it's so thick, I got that ball, look at that ball, I don't know. So if you're doing your research, just research, Sisterlocks and Microlocks. Make sure whoever you look at their person's work, get reviews, and you can still have the lock look by getting Microlocks. Like, definitely. So I hope this helped. Any more questions? Put them down below. Have a great day. Remember, speak life. Your words create your world.